Hello, everybody. Hi, it's Bun. I thought I'd be a little different today, and I would do a voiceover over a time lapse. Normally I just play music, but I thought I'd change it up a little bit. Talk about kind of like how this project was, how it came to be, the kind of yarn and stuff I use, the pattern. Um, so biggest thing is the beaded mermaid itself is not a pattern I paid for. However, I did purchase in the past a beaded lizard crochet project, and I used the pattern of those beads to do this. I just modified it to the numbers I needed for a beaded mermaid because it's one of those things where it's like once you have that kind of pattern, it's very easy to change it up. And that kind of is what inspired me to do the mermaid in the first place. It was a case of combining things I really, really like. If you've ever taken a peek at my main videos and what I tend to post speed paints and stuff, I like to design mermaids, I like to do bead critters, and I like to crochet. So this project is literally just a combination of the three things that define me. Is the fact that I like crocheting, I like mermaids, and I like bead critters. And so I made a bead critter mermaid crochet project, and it took frickin' forever. Um, so I actually started this project last year. I made the cord last year for the most part. I did have to finish the cord this week when I was working on the project. And I ended up just not finishing it last year because, life. Um, and I ended up this year, I was just like, nope, we're finishing it. This is the year I finish my whips. I go through my whips. I'm taking my yarn stash down. I am dealing with things. And so this is one of those projects. So I'll put a link to the pattern that I purchased for the bead lizard. And if you wanted to make something like this, you can just use the beads from the bead lizard and just calculate how many beads you would need for like your standard like project. In the case of this one, I actually miscounted. So I have like a sheet in my notebook that I wrote, and I actually put the numbers wrong the first time, but I wasn't too far off. In total, she had 39 hair beads, 38 for her skin, 7 for her top, 34 for her fin and her hip, 36 for her tail, and 2 for her eye. Um, I was 6 beads off, so she's 156 beads. If my numbers are correct that I put the edits on, because it looks like I actually wrote the edits on my notebook. I didn't think I did, but apparently, past me did. Her hair is red heart. Her eyes, her tail fin, those are mainstays, which is a Walmart brand. Her skin is Yarn Bee, and the cord is Crafter's Secret. If I remember correctly, the hair is Orchid. Her eyes are just blue. The skin is soft shell. The tail is teal sparkle. I could not tell you what her yarn is nor the color because that's been in my stash for several years at this point, and I could not tell you when and where I got it or what it is. Um, and I believe her fins are the anti-pill mainstays. Um, they're all yarns I already had in my stash for the most part. I actually was intending to use a different yarn for her skin. I did have a little trouble with her skin and the anti-pill one because they're a little bit thicker than most of my other worsted weight ones, so they come out a little more plush, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just made threading them a little bit more difficult because they were a little chunkier, even though they're all technically a weight 4 yarn. But I used a size J hook, which is what the pattern the lizard pattern requires. As for the cord, the way I measured the cord was, if you saw one of the shorts, is essentially just threaded all the beads up onto the cord once I had all the beads made, and then I just doubled that length and then some. And I really actually could have gotten away with maybe only doing like 2/3 of the length that I ended up doing, but it works out in the end because I end up just double lacing through it and then I sew it shut, which just helps keep it secure. I'm gonna have to go through and wire her up with some like floral wire to stiffen her because I would like to hang her on my wall, but as she currently stands, she's so heavy it causes all the beads to sag. So if I was to put her as a vertical piece on my wall, she'll just sag and it's not gonna look good. So I'm gonna have to go through and use some wire to make her a little more rigid. Um, while I was threading it, that was probably like, it took so long to thread it. It took over an hour just to thread this. the average of how long this project alone took. Like each bead took between 6 and 8 minutes long. Some of them even took longer if I was really distracted. The cord took a couple hours. I think like 4 to 5 hours I spent on it. Um, and there's also just the just lacing her up took an hour. So it's like she took a long time to put together. I think my original calculation was like only supposed to be like 18 hours, 17 and a half. But I've spent more on it. I have definitely spent way longer on it altogether. But I broke the project up over like the past month and a half, I think, is when I've been working on her. I've been working on her off and on. Um, but the fact that she's finally done is absolutely fantastic. Like honestly, last night when I was working on her, I really wanted to just finish her last night, but I was tired, so I'm like, no, we're gonna save it for today and finish her off. And I'm really glad I did. I really love how she turned out. It's really cool to see her all put together finally. Um, but yeah, I I don't know if I'm gonna do another one of these anytime soon. I want to. I would like to make one of my axolotls at some point like this. However, the axolotl, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm trying to remember what the bead count for the axolotl is. I want to say the axolotls use more beads. Um, I think they use way more beads than she did, and that's a lot of beads. Like, I think alone, if I was to do just a two-colored axolotl with the eye color being different, I think that alone would take as many beads, if not more beads than her, because I think the main color takes at least 88. And if she's 156, like, she's like double that, and I know there's more, so if I did, it would be a lot of beads. But I need a break from her. I need a break from doing beads, because the bucket of beads, like the basket I had that was sitting on my floor, I kept accidentally kicking it over, and then I had to pick up all the beads, and I actually had to redo some of them because I ended up losing them, and then I found them later, and so I ended up, I have like a small pile of like extra beads I've crocheted, and they'll just go into a bag and I'll use them for something else. Um, but I do want to do another project like this. I'm just not going to do it anytime soon because this was a lot. She was very, very tedious, but I'm really happy with how she turned out in the end. Also, if you're wondering, I ended up using it because I can see it on the screen. I ended up using a knitting needle at one point to help lace up some of the beads, as well as using my crochet hook to try to feed it through because it was just getting a little finicky at the end. Because I was like triple lacing through it just to get the cord used up instead of having to take the cord fully apart. Um, I'm not going to do an end credits here, but I am going to thank my patrons right here in the video itself. So thank you to my Patreon supporters, Submissive Dirk, Korg Ian, and Pierre Vermel. I love you guys a lot. Um, and thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me while I do this project that's just literally just something I wanted to do. I hope you have a wonderful night. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!